Hello, my name is Aurika. I'm a co-founder of helmetbasedventilation.com, and today I have a pleasure to talk with Scott Ritchie. He is a VP of Engineering and Manufacturing at Amron International. So thank you for being here, and can you tell us more about yourself and about the company that you're working at?
Yes, well, thank you for having me here, Aurika. Yes, I've worked for Amron for 34 years, pretty much dedicated my career to them. And my main capacity is product design and development, but I also run manufacturing, facility safety, quality at Amron. But yeah, I've been designing products, since the 80s, ironically, and relating to the treatment hood. I developed that it came out in 1998. I think we started back in 97 or 6. It was actually a fun product to design, and actually it was a lot of our doctors and clients and customers who helped design it for me. Ironically, we sent out a survey and we asked what were some things you would want to see in the product, and I gathered all the information and then came up with the design. There were quite a bit of requirements that doctors wanted to see. One of the main ones is they wanted to be able to have the client be able to, the patient to lay down. So we offset the neck opening back towards the rear so they can lay down, not have the hood, lift over their head. Another important design feature was a 2-part design, so you could install the ring and neck seal assembly and get all the plumbing hooked up and going, and all the hair and whatever out from the neck to get a proper seal, and then they would place the hood over the patient's head, and it became a very successful product.
And what I'm seeing, still the improvements are happening, the changes to the design, and right now you have a little bit different client for the oxygen hoods or helmets.
Yeah. Yes, it was developed for the hyperbaric industry initially, and then when COVID hit, we went into I would call it Hypermode on redesigning some aspects of the hood to make it compatible for CPAP or NIV or any other type of treatments for hospital use. We integrated, one of the problems was in hyperbarics, the hood pressure isn't near the level, for CPAP, for example, up to 20 centimeters of water, working pressure, let alone. So we incorporated some locking ribs into our ring, which is, there's eight locking ribs that allows the overall pressure of the hood to hold up to 40 plus centimeters of water. And what it does is it kind of pushes against the O-ring and doesn't allow it to slip out. But it's unique that you can just take your fingers in one area and pop it open. So you almost feel like it's hard to believe that it would seal, but if you look at, the physics of the hood, and once you start pressurizing, you start to understand how that was achieved. We also incorporated straps and strap retainers on the hood. There's little buttons on the outside of the ring. That's to help hold the hood down because of the elevated pressures as well. Correct. And basically too is what's unique is you can push the 2 rings together just like you did before on our hood, and how you can tell is you can feel that the 2 rings at the bottom are perfectly flush, and that way you know that you have it properly locked into place. It just makes it easy. It's safe because that is also a pressure relief valve. So if there was an overpressurization condition, that hood will pop off at approximately 40 to 50, depending on the lubrication used on the O-ring, as a safety feature as well. I do see other companies using clips and whatnot, but that kind of takes away that feature, and it makes it a little more difficult to remove the hood, for an air brake, or whether they want to drink a water or to eat or whatever the reason may be, it makes it a lot easier to pull the hood off or lift it off the patient without disturbing all the piping or the patient itself. So that's, part of the main design.
Yeah, and so your next seal, I noticed that this is a silicone one, and it's very strong.
Yes, that was a lot of work. I wanted to produce that back in 1999 after I came out with the hood. I actually had that concept, but the costs were a little prohibitive because we were just starting out and materials weren't quite there yet, and as well as the FDA approved materials as well. And that neck seal, we actually tried developing it with a single O-ring, and it just didn't seem to hold very well. And then we came out with our double O-ring design, which will put it on very nicely. And also, we developed it to be thicker at the bottom, so it's durable. People won't tear it, or if you ding it or nick it, it's very strong there at the sealing area, but it's nice and thin and comfortable up at the patient's neck seal.
And I can see it's very easy to replace too. So then,
yeah, they're removable. Yes, our products have always been removable from the onset of 1998. We also have a latex neck seal. Actually, that silicone neck seal you're looking at is a patented product. We put a patent on that design. We originally had a patent on the overall hood back in 1998 for some of the concepts and whatnot. It's been a great journey for the product. And like I said, we have monthly customer feedback meetings, and we continuously try to improve our products.
And it's been FDA approved for how many years now? Over 20 years, right?
2022 now, I guess, 1998. It's a very involved process. We also we did testing with NIV, the government. We've done individual hospitals at our facility. And the big one is there's a toxicology on the hood. You have the Kligman test, EMUD. There's multiple tests that you have to perform and pass to even have your hood FDA approved for marketing. So it was quite a experience, I should say, a learning experience for us,
And so your organization, we have like a medical manufacturer department, right? Where everything that is okay.
Yes, we actually have Amron International. We have 3 divisions. We have the medical division, we have commercial diving, and then we have military. And our military's base, we have some military diving, and we also were a prime vendor that sold all the tactical gear, during the war. We're kind of a multifaceted, and our business model was, we developed that on purpose because, as you can see, oil prices are low, commercial diving slows down. So we don't like to keep all of our eggs in one basket. So it's been a great business model for many years, and I have to say Amron's an incredible company to work for.
That's great. And so can you tell me a little bit more about your client now? So hospitals ordering in US your helmets, and tell me about the other countries. I know that you are supplying them also with your helmets.
Yes, it's been a very interesting last, 6 weeks or plus, and we were in the hurry up mode to get our new hood out, but we continue to sell the hyperbaric hood. We sell quite a few of them, very successful at that, and we are now starting to sell for COVID. We're selling into multiple countries now. We're getting a lot of international interest, and even in the US, I can see where hospitals are starting to slowly incorporate this product, and that's part of our goal, is to try to get with clinical studies and with hospitals and promote the education, because I do feel the hood is very beneficial versus incubating a patient and putting them on ventilators. They've found that that isn't the best solution. And with hoods, we're using PEEP valves with elevated pressures is found to be, significant help for these COVID patients. So
Yes, and I'm happy to hear that there are hospitals in the U.S. who are using the helmet-based ventilation for their patients already. Some of the hospitals still assessing that option, and so we're getting the quotes from different manufacturers, and so we kind of on the stage where we still need to learn about it and find the best helmet that they wanted to use for their patients.
yes.
So it's great way to actually introduce the helmet for the hospitals in the U.S. And we still have a big learning curve. That's what the biggest brick wall that we have to
obstacle.
exactly.
Yes.
And I'm so glad that you are listening to your customers so well and making all these changes on your design that is beneficial for the patient treatment. Also I noticed that your ring is very smooth. So can you tell me more about what's the reason for that ring to be a solid piece, and how that can benefit the patient?
Yeah, the heart of design is that we call that our neck ring, because the neck seal's attached to it and it's placed over your head. It's a one-piece solid design, so you don't risk contamination. There are other devices out there that are 2 or 3 piece or more. And if you're soaking these in a germicidal disinfectant, for example, you can tell when you lift them out that you'll soon see theirs keeps dripping. You can have ours dried off by then. We just felt especially for hospital use, another advantage is it's autoclavable. It's a polycarbonate autoclavable medical grade plastic.
Mm-hmm.
So all hospitals and facilities all have different cleaning processes. And so we found out some hospitals like to autoclave everything they possibly can. Others gas sterilize. Some people use gamma. I mean, that silicone neck seal, you can gamma.
Mm-hmm.
You can use autoclave, gas sterilization, basically any process to clean that product. But the ring itself, is the main base, and you can see we placed the couplers up in the front. That was a patented idea. I see a lot of companies starting to move to that direction. There's a multitude of advantages. Number one is the supply of oxygen now comes right up over your face, and you can breathe a fresh breath. It defogs keeps the viewing window nice and clear, and it creates a circular pattern that goes up, because once the hood's inflated, the hood has a rounded shape, and it just comes back down to the lower area and helps scrubs out the CO2 out the exhaust port. A couple other advantages I think I mentioned earlier on, that by having a base ring in a 2-part design, you have your natural pressure overpressurization valve. It's very important in the hyperbaric industry, because it's very easily overpressurized or underpressurized due to the vacuum that you pull on a chamber. You have to use regulating valves to just dial it in just perfect. So we're very acutely aware of the safety features as well. By placing the couplers also, a certain distance apart. That was a very critical study we had to do, that we used smoke generators and to make sure at the lower flow rates, especially for young children that are around 12 liters per minute of gas, that it's not just running right back out the exhaust. So we got those spaced just right for all applications. It also helps support the hood on your body. When you plug in your 22 millimeter tubing, it just rests right here on your shoulder and actually helps you with kind of support the hood. And another advantage is the noise. Many hoods have the inlet and outlet up on the hood. And some of the problems you have with that is the noise level can be 2, 3, 4 times louder depending on the flow rates. Right into your ear area, the noise generates, right at your ears. It's almost the worst possible place you could, place it. And it also creates circulation that we believe is just running around the outside of the hood, kind of like a tornado. And your head is the eye of the tornado. We found many patients using other products would overheat, and they just never felt like they got a good fresh oxygen. So that's why we felt the circulation going from front to back, up and over and back was a better concept, because it does cool and gives them fresh oxygen. And you're getting that fresh breath, and it reduces the CO2 levels as well. So that was a key part of that ring design.
Yeah, so you mentioned the CO2 levels. So as we talked about it before, in your recommendation is actually for physicians, for clinicians to monitor the CO2 levels for these patients. Is that correct?
Well, yes, I feel that it's very important. I know many physicians will take patients and they'll set them up and test them to find out what flow rates, because every person has they're different sizes, shapes, tidal volumes, health conditions. There's a lot of factors that come into play. And so physicians will set the flow based on that particular patient, and they have ways of monitoring and measuring different levels in their system. And the CO2 is critical to get the flow high enough to achieve safe levels of CO2. And especially for CPAP, I see, I know they're using high flows, and I've heard 50 and I've heard 60 and up, and I could fully understand why. I mean, we ran some testing actually on myself as a guinea pig, and I'm right around 50 or so. I'm at the safe level before any alarms trip, but I could see 60 being a very safe level for the product. But I just feel by monitoring the CO2, that would also tell you if the hood got a reduction in flow, whether it's coming in or going out. The CO2 will raise. So I just feel a CO2 could be one of your best tools, for the patient. Right, because with CPAP's a little bit different. In the hyperbaric, you have to have a nurse or attendant in the chamber because you could actually, with the vacuum from a chamber, because of differential in pressure from the chamber to outside the chamber, that creates a vacuum. You run the risk of the hood collapsing on the patient. And that brings us to the window of the hood. There's a reason for the window of the hood. A lot of people don't realize it. It is for optic quality, because a lot of patients in hospitals, these chambers run up to 6 to 12. I've heard all the way up to 20 patients there, and they watch videos and movies. Some will read a book. There's a multitude of uses, but also that window keeps the because the 12 mil vinyl would go around your nasal passages and you could literally suffocate. And with the 40 mil, it'll push up against your head, but you still allowed to breathe. So we also find it to be a safety aspect for that window as well. Amron, we started, our roots are in the commercial diving industry, and these are life support systems. We develop all the air consoles and gas consoles that run air communications. It tells them what their depth is underwater, and these are life support systems. So there's a lot of safety built in, double redundancy, and even the in-process inspections, final inspections, functional testing. So going into the hood product, we kept the same mentality, because we obviously we don't want to see anyone ever get hurt using anybody's hood, period. But our goal is to save lives, not to take lives. So yeah, there was a lot of thought put into the product regarding safety as well.
And then this board here, can you tell me a little bit more about the?
Yeah, that's a multi-access port, and it was developed. It's got underneath on the bottom, it's hollow, so it's very thin. So you can pierce it, whether with a pin, or you can cut a small hole in it with like a leather cutter, any kind of cutter that you can die cut a hole in it. And we use it a lot for when we're testing. We run like a 1/4 inch Tygon tubing up in there. We can do CO2, humidity. We can test the hood pressures. We can, it's a multitude of uses for that multi-access port. We've heard of people even putting a tube in there with a little bag they can squeeze and take drinks of water. We've heard people doing that as well. So you can have a pinch tube on the inside. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's like a bite tube. You bite it and it opens up the valve.
They have this type of straw, right?
Yeah, a lot. You see it. I think a lot of these backpacks that have water features, which is part of our tactical. That's kind of where I stole the idea from. You can use bite valves as well, especially if they're in the hood for any length of time.
Yeah. So this is very, important for the clinicians, because this is where you don't have to disrupt the therapy, and you are able to give a sip of water or even any liquid food for the patient, or even suction if needed. So that's one of the features that everybody is looking for in the medical field, because it helps a lot. It's a patient comfort, and definitely it helps the staff to take care of this patient. So yeah, it's I'm very happy, that I got this helmet from you guys. It took a little bit of time, but now I know why, because you were making all these improvements, and it's safe to use for the patients in the hospital to treat the respiratory distress. Anything else that you would like to add, or ask from your clients, your clinicians, physicians? How can we help you, and to get the helmets in the hospitals for the patients' use?
Amron, we would like to see this type of therapy. We find it extremely beneficial, and if we can save lives, we would like to help spread the word and get more, like similar to Italy, where hoods are just a normal therapy over there. We're hoping that in the U.S. that it will take hold. We find it very beneficial versus the more aggressive therapies that they have, that sometimes can actually harm a patient if not used properly. So we find the hood is we find it a safer device and less intrusive. So we're looking for medical facilities that would like to try our hood and maybe doing clinical studies. So using our hood, so we can get more input, back to Amron on if there's other areas of improvement we can do for the product. That's what we're all about. We're constantly improving all of our products. We just completed, we're really, a lot of our our company, we do communication systems, and we just developed it where we can take the inhalation noise completely out of all the divers. So if you have 3 divers trying to carry on a conversation with the topside tender, now you don't hear 3 people breathing randomly in that conversation. It makes it much more intelligible, and that was quite a process. And and I think I spoke to you earlier and told you we've even developed for sat diving helium and scramblers for many years. So yeah, we're involved in a lot of different aspects of medical as well, a hyperbaric type medical field. We also developed the oxygen treatment panels that have the gas supply, the humidification, and allows you to monitor and measure, or not monitor and measure, but to control the pressures of the hood right from inside the chamber. And we make a single and a dual patient device for hyperbarics. So basically we supply the whole circuitry, tubing, fittings, everything.
Wow. So it's one place to go to get all the accessories and the hood, and that's actually great because it's easy for the customer.
Well, that's what's funny is we supply all the products for chambers. I'm talking from analyzers to valves, plumbing, communications, heating and chilling. We make the systems that heat and chill chambers. We supply gauges, all the products, hoods, treatment hoods, masks that they wear for decompression. So we do supply all the products. So this just kind of fell right in line with what we already do anyway. So, but,
yeah. And you did mention that right now, every day you talk with multiple hospitals, clinicians. So that's already a good sign that
yes,
we wanted to use the helmet, and we are now.
I am seeing more facilities interested, and I know I talked to our VP of Sales and Marketing, Mike Malone, and he's been very busy on the phone all day long talking to these hospitals. I mean, there's a lot of hospitals out there that are looking to adopt this process. So yeah, I think I wish the doctors and the clinicians and all the people would try to create a unified group. I know it's difficult because every doctor has, they do a lot of work and a lot of studies and they publish papers, but as a whole, I think they can all agree that these type of therapies are beneficial for patients, and that's where they really need to unite. They can always agree to disagree on the small nuances. I get that. We have the same thing in our industry as well. Everybody does in life, but if we can get everybody to unite and grow this, the goal is to save lives and help people, so that we have to keep the common goal in mind moving forward always. So that's how we look at it from Amron, is how can we help you? What can we develop, to make somebody's life easier? So.
And I totally agree with you. I just want to add to it that it's going to happen eventually. It's just right now we just starting to implement that in a hospital. So
this is parallel to what I've seen 20-something years ago in the hyperbaric industry. It was an uphill battle. We used to attend these conventions and listen to doctors and see their papers, and very interesting. I mean, really, really interesting stuff. But it was very hard to get moving on it because a lot of people didn't believe in it, or they had small disagreements maybe about how to do the therapy. But over the years, it's becoming more common and more accepted. It's taken a long time. And I see we're like right at the very beginning for this process to be used, for CPAP, NIV, and other therapies. We're right at the very beginning, and I just think it's great that there's some doctors out there that have already shown leadership and have published papers and done an excellent job, you know, in that field. And I commend them for it.
And I can see more and more papers will be coming out because, like you said, it depends on the leader, on the decision makers at the hospital, the hospitals and the units where the helmets will be used. It's a slow process, but right now during the pandemic, I feel like everything is moving a little bit faster than it would,
Yes.
you know.
Well, yeah, the pandemic has definitely created you know, there's just a lot going on with that. It's created a lot of people to push that way because, you know, there was a threat of a lack of ventilators and respirators, and they, you know, people were saying, oh, we need, you know, gazillion hoods and this and that. But I think what we all found is it's not a well-recognized therapy in the U.S. like in Italy.
Yeah.
And I think it's helped start the process. I really do. But I'd like to see this process continue in the U.S. I think it's very beneficial, and I'm just hoping that there's doctors and people out there that take an alternate look at this process, because I really believe that there's a lot of benefits, because I see it in the hyperbaric side with patients in cerebral palsy or MS. I have children that are in wheelchairs being wheeled into the chamber, and after 3 or 4 treatments, they start walking into the chamber. They come out, they give their mom a hug. These are people that can't utter a word, and now they're saying, I love you, Mom. I mean,
Oh my God.
You can't put a price on that, you know, so.
Yeah, and I agree. This is when the physicians and patients will see the benefit of the helmet-based ventilation. This is when it's going to be more accepted, and I truly believe that we will all have the same goal to make sure that the patient is safe, that the patient gets better, and that clinicians learn and you know, study more the non-invasive ventilation via helmets. So it's a good goal to have, and I believe we're all on the same page here. And now we just need more helmet champions, and so one of them is you and your company. So I'm very, very happy to have you here. This was very great interview. I learned a lot about the helmet myself, and I will be talking to you again soon, and I hope you will be reached by the physicians who wanted to do the research and use Amron helmet.
Well, also, I'd like to thank you so much for having these videos and spending, I know you spend a ton of time. You have an awesome website. You're spreading the word, and we need more people like you out there doing it. And I can't say enough about what you're doing. It's just phenomenal. And I greatly appreciate what you're doing for the industry.
Thank you so much. It just, I believe in it. I saw how it works. So I really want to make sure that everybody hears about this option, about this treatment. And when we will try, when we will learn about it, they will see all these benefits that we are talking about, that we know already about. So just wishing you to stay healthy and safe, and come up with new design ideas. And I will talk to you soon. And thank you so much for this interview.
All right, well, thank you for having me.